The ship is now docked in Kingston, Ontario. After extensive renovations, it is now a floating museum. Before we view the ship itself, we did the obligatory tour to the gift shop, if you will. It's a bit of a museum in there as well. There's some nice models and samples of art and things like that. Quite interesting. Anyways, it was good to see before we actually went into the ship itself. Next, we walked up the gangway into the actual Keewatin itself, where we came upon the grand entry, if you will. And I was quite surprised at how elegant this is. Absolutely gorgeous old woodwork, and I guess it's gold leafing or whatever you would call that. Beautiful oak panels, things like that. It's the type of thing that Dad would really take a shine to. In the grand entrance, we also have the purser's room, and that's where the purser handles different things like holding on to all the keys and that sort of thing. Next, we rise up the stairs to the second floor, up the grand staircase, and we see the long hallway that lines the length of the ship itself, and it's all covered in beautiful ferns and that sort of thing, and you can look down into the next floor. It's really quite nice. And on either side of this opening, we have all of the corridors that go to the actual cabins themselves where passengers would sleep. Next we have, I would call it a gathering area, I suppose, where we have a grand piano where somebody, I'm assuming, would sit there at night and entertain the guests. Now we move on to the very elegant dining room, which sat quite a few people. All the tables were dressed very, very nicely. Obviously, a very classy dining room. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the sleeping quarters where the passengers had. This is where it was a real eye-opener. Cruising has changed so much in the last 100-odd years. We have these very, very narrow hallways with doors to the cabins on each side, and as you'll see in just a second, the cabins are very small. So I thought it was quite interesting, and they had a lot of them decorated in different time periods where they showed the different types of dresses and both men and ladies attire, that sort of thing, and little knickknacks around the room that represented the time period that they were in. Now, of course, the most of the passengers in there, even though they were all considered to be first-class passengers, most of the passenger cabins did not have bathroom facilities. There was common washrooms for basically, all of the floors type of thing. So with multiple sinks and toilets and that sort of thing. However, we did see a number of cabins that were, as you would say, mum for the toffs. These are the very elaborate cabins. Quite often they had double-sized beds. They did have their own washroom, that sort of thing. So they were quite a bit different and much larger than the regular cabins that the ordinary people, shall we say, would have access to. Okay, now that we've seen how the passengers lived, let's see how the crew lived. These next few things are going to give you an idea basically of where the crew, like Dad, would sleep and where they would eat, which obviously would not be in the main dining rooms. That's where they would serve food, but they certainly wouldn't eat there. And also, let's have a look at the kitchen where they did actually prepare the food for all of the guests. At the end of the day, a lot of the guests would then gather at the various entertainment room, shall we say, where they would sit around and maybe have a drink or a cigar at the end of the day. And there was entertainment that was usually provided. It was, at the beginning, it was all live entertainment with small combos of musicians. So looking at some of the literature that they had on display, cruising clearly was, I guess back in the day, it was expensive for people, but you know, in comparison today, I think it was very, very affordable. And here we show some one-day cruises are, you know, very inexpensive. And then we have a list here of the different prices throughout the years, and it really didn't go out that much, or sorry, didn't go up that much, based on the number of years. Yeah, it was very, very affordable for most people. For example, in 1907, a round trip was $42.50, and that price basically stayed the same till the 1950s, late 40s, 1950s. I mean, that was pretty darn good. So after we finished the tour, we saw that there was a model downstairs in the lower hold, I guess you'd call it, where they keep the luggage and that sort of thing. There was a model of the Keewatin, and then right beside it was a model of the Titanic. Now they're apparently both scaled to size, so we can see that the Titanic was much, much bigger than the Keewatin. As big as the Keewatin was, it was quite small when you look at the two of them side by side. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video tour, Mum, of the ship. It certainly opened my eyes to the way cruising was in the day, and also the fact that you know, some of the things that Dad did when he was on the ship. But yeah, the video is kind of coming to an end here, but I've got something else for you, which I hope you're going to like. This was a real shock to me, and this is probably a 1 in a million thing. As I was walking through the dining rooms, there was all kinds of tables, as you saw previously. There's all kinds of tables that were dressed up, and I just happened to look down at one table, and on that one table was a photograph. It was about a 6 by 8 inch photograph or something in a small frame, and something caught my eye, and I thought, this can't be. So I kind of looked at it a little closer, and as we look closer, there's a figure on the left-hand side, and you can see I've circled him in a yellow circle, and I am absolutely 100% sure this is Dad. If you look at the corner of the picture, it says circa 1940s, and that's exactly when he was on this ship. He looks exactly like him. To be honest with you, he looks exactly like Mark. So I mean, the comparisons are just unmistakable in my opinion. So we have this one photograph of Dad in the 1940s in the dining room. I don't know what he was doing there, if he was just, you know, bringing some bread to the table or something like that. That's what he would do, a steward would do. But anyways, I thought it was just an unbelievable coincidence that I should just happen to look down of all the tables that were in that dining room and see the one picture, and it immediately caught my eye. So there you go, Mom. That's quite a surprise to me. I just can't believe it. But anyways, yeah, so there we have it. Barrett Smith has left his mark on the Keewatin. I really hope you enjoyed this.